Welcome to The Good Pod. Today we talk about The Good Wife, Season 2, Episode 2, Double Jeopardy, and not the type that you find on the show, Jeopardy. I am one of your hosts, Jason Reed. With me, as always, the one, the only, Marissa Garza. Marissa, you good?
I'm good. You good?
I'm good. Very good. Listen, another episode of The Good Wife. We're in this new world of Season 2 where things are bigger, better, and more action-packed. So,
I loved this one, though. I loved it. It was a really good one.
This was a really great episode because, it's one of those episodes where we find our heroes in a foreign land. They don't know what to do. This is kind of the second time we've seen William Gardner in a a place where he's not familiar with, and we see how he bristles against anything different, anything new, where he's like so out of his league. So he kind of resorts to petty tactics in a way. It's an interesting thing, and I can't wait to go through it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Listen, before we dive into the case and all that comes with that, we want to remind you of some easy, free ways you can support this podcast. There is, no matter where you're listening or watching us, there's a way to give us a great review or a great rating. Just give us a 5-star rating, or if you're on Apple Podcasts, you can always write us a review. We really, really, really love those. If you have any feedback you want to give us, we can also have an email, thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com. Listen, as we said before, we record these ahead of time, so you're going to listen to this in a few weeks. But we got a fantastic email from Dana Olson giving us some great feedback. Dana, we love you for that. That was a really great message to read. But yeah, if you want to just listen, we'll even take some constructive criticism if you want to throw it our way, as long as it's constructive. Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a Cary about it.
Don't be a Cary, okay? Because Cary has just walked over to the evil side. He's now a, what do you call this? A Sith. He's now a Sith guy. But yeah, we also have that, the goodpodfeedback@gmail.com. So hit us up there as well. Listen, that's housekeeping. Let's dive into this episode, person.
It's a big one. And full of guest stars. So let's right off the bat, we are in the courtroom seeing the verdict of a case come out, and we learn that a man named Randall Simmons, who is played by Brian Tyree Henry, or if you're fans of Abbott Elementary, you may have heard him referred to as Brian Austin Green. But
yeah, that's funny.
He is on trial for the murder of his wife, who he found stabbed to death. Brian Tyree Henry is a big name.
Yeah, it's so funny because, as we've talked about throughout our journey here on The Good Wife, there's so many people that come up on this procedural show that will later be a lot more famous. I mean, and then we have that here with two people that definitely, for me, like as the viewers are watching this will see, I'm wearing a Marvel shirt today. We got two big Marvel hitters here. I mean, well, I don't want to say big. Brian Tyree Henry is not a big. He was in the one that people like the least, but he was in a Marvel property.
But he was there. He was
there. He was the best part.
Okay.
He was the best. Yeah, he was the best part of the Eternals. So let's put that right on the table. So yeah, he is very, very well known now. But of course, back then we were just like, oh, like he's cool. He's a good actor. But you'll know Brian Tyree Henry if you watch Atlanta. That's where he really, really got his big break. Was Atlanta with Donald Glover, and then since then he's been in so many different movies and television shows. He's a big star now. So to see him here was just like, oh my god, like this was before Brian Tyree Henry was Brian Tyree Henry. He's probably just Brian Henry, like at that point, right? Like you don't get the middle name until you get into the big leagues. You know what I mean? They'll start putting that in there until you get to the Marvel movie. So it was really great to see him here. He wasn't given a ton to do, but what we saw,
he did it well.
Yeah, he did it well. He did what little he had in a great way.
Yes. So he's on trial for the wife of his, or for the wife of his murder. A murder of his wife. And we see on the prosecution, we got Cary and Matan. On the defense, we've got Alicia and Will. It's a very dramatic reading of the verdict, yeah. The verdict being not guilty. There's an outcry in court from the victim's mother saying, you killed my son. And Cary is like super pissed about this whole situation. We learn, and Matan is using this as an option to like teach him something. He comes up to Cary and says, I want you to have this. It's a piece of paper about an 8-year deal that they didn't take. And Cary's like, we had the right strategy. We knew what we were doing. And he lays into Alicia as they're leaving the courtroom. Not Will, not Will. We're still just mad at
Mm-hmm.
Alicia,
Yep.
but because Alicia made the decision, Cary, it wasn't Will, but lays into Alicia and says, he killed her, like really menacingly and like really like, this is on your shoulders. I'm not going to take any responsibility for the fact that I could have like put this man
Yep.
behind bars by taking this deal.
He's just looking for anything to needle Alicia about because, but he wants to get in at her any way that he can. I mean, Cary with his new just like I don't care hair attitude. He just like takes the moose and just like ruffles his hair to make, I guess this is his evil look now. It was like the devil look for Cary at this point. But yeah, he's obviously not very happy that he got bested by Alicia. This was an interesting way to come into the case, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
usually on Good Wife we get the case from kind of beginning to end. We're coming in on the tail end of a case here, and we see just a verdict, and we'll get into more of a case. But it was interesting to come in at the verdict of a case we didn't see actually tried in the courtroom, and to drop in here was an interesting little space for us to be in.
Well, and usually when we see that, it's like we'll drop it at the end, and then it's like 24 hours later or earlier, 24 hours earlier, and it's like
Yeah.
how we got to that spot. But this was kind of like the midpoint of Randall Simmons' story for like his character arc. But yeah, Cary is still mad about the situation. So he's like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to call up my friend from the Peace Corps, Lieutenant Gossett. And Lieutenant Gossett, also someone that we know from the Marvel universe.
Yeah, Tiana Paris, who, at this point hadn't done a lot of the bigger things in her career. From the first time I saw Tiana Paris was from the show Survivor's Remorse, which was like a little known show, but was a really, really good show. It was about a basketball player who basically, got a basketball deal and came out of the hood, and it's a way of him, him and his family and how they deal with the newfound fame and whatnot. And Tiana Paris is a really great part of that show, and now she is, in the big leagues in Marvel as Monica Rambeau. She was part of the Marvels, that movie. She's one of the Marvels, so she's a big player right now in the Marvel scene. So and again, to see her, it's like, oh my god, not just one but two important Black people. Like,
Yeah,
which show am I watching?
So progressive.
Yeah, oh my god. So it was great to see her here as well, and of course she knocked it out of the park as well in this episode. So again, it's like, oh my god, like two huge Marvel presences here on this episode. So really good to see her there.
Well, and this is like the second or third time we've seen Cary use his Peace Corps connections, specifically with women. So was he like a Peace Corps player? Because he just
100%.
like calls all these people.
He's like they're in like some like developing country, like helping out. He's like, hey, you wanna come over to my tent, like just kind of hang out, like maybe we can
I got
surf the
mushrooms.
web. Yeah, I got mushrooms. Maybe we can MySpace or something, like because that was the thing back in the day. Probably when he was in Peace Corps.
Yeah, good.
You can just see Cary. Yeah, you can just see Cary being the, like you said, the Peace Corps player around the camp.
Oh man, yeah. And at this point, we know that Lieutenant Gossett. Well, we don't even know Lieutenant Gossett is Lieutenant Gossett. We just know that this lady was in the Peace Corps and she's a lawyer that Cary is looking to help basically fix his mistake. He's like, hey, take a look at this case. Here's the file. Take a look into it. There's evidence that we could not get in, but you can. And you can tell that they have like a little playful relationship because she has this moment where she's like, take off your shoe. Take off your shoe. And then she hits him with the shoe. It's Cary deserved it. Cary deserves to get hit with the shoe like anytime. So it was kind of fun to see, but it kind of let us know what their relationship was like.
Yeah, I like first of all that it wasn't a sexual relationship. You can tell it was more of like a friendship. And also just like I like that they didn't tell us who this person was. Like, why is he giving her the file? Like, what does she have to do with this? And I love the reveal of this person, who they were and why they were given the case.
Yeah, because the next time we see her, there's a police call at a house, and Alicia's already there. Will's pulling up and is greeted by this woman who turns out to be dressed in army fatigues and is Lieutenant Gossett. And she's like, hey, guess what? I'm going to charge this man with murder. And he's like, you can't do that. It's double jeopardy. You can't charge someone for the same crime twice. She's like, yeah, can in military court. Because this man was a reservist when this happened and we did not try him. So Will and Alicia have to go to to defend him in military court against Jag, which is, like you were saying earlier, unfamiliar territory for him.
Yeah, and it's funny that, it's a weird, I guess, a weird loophole in the double jeopardy thing of like, this is a whole different organization. Like we are outside of the normal. We don't pay attention to your little Chicago law. Like we don't care about that. We are the military. This is a whole different world here. We can do whatever we want. Not whatever we want, but the fact that you tried him in normal court doesn't matter to us. We're our own thing, our own entity. And the fact that no one even thought about this, and it's interesting how Cary is now just a total legal genius. You know, as we'll see throughout this episode, Cary has thought of everything. Cary is now just this person that is just this fantastic legal mind who is just outthinking our people every which way. And he's the one that thought of this plot to get Randall tried in military court now.
Yeah, I mean, and they offer him the same 8 years that, Randall was gonna take, basically, that had offered the prosecution in the state case. But Randall's like, I've been out. I was cleared of my name in the state case. I've been out for 3 days. There's no way I am taking 8 years.
And Randall's so passionate. He's like, I did not do this. I'm like,
yeah.
Brian Tyree Henry, I believe you. Like, I believe you didn't do it. Like, it's that moment I'm like, okay, Randall didn't do it. He definitely didn't do it. Like, I know, I see the passion in this man's face. He did not kill his wife on this fictional TV show. So he definitely, he's tired of. He thought he was done with this, and now he wants to fight it again. He wants to prove his innocence.
Yeah. Before we talk about the military trial, I do want to kind of just set the scene of a couple of things because there's a lot of different players. I feel like the writers were like, in the break between season 1 and season 2, they watched A Few Good Men and were like, we need our Few Good Men moment, because they really brought it with setting up this military court. So we have Judge Kuhn, who a judge is not necessarily a judge in military court. Like they make rulings, but it's not like the same as in state court. But she definitely has a reputation. She's someone who's well respected and is not to be dealt with when she is on a cleanse.
And she kept referring to herself as acting judge. So I'm just like, so is she just a normal military officer? And then like when we need a judge, we're like, she's a good judge, a character. Let's get her in here. Like, does she have like a law degree or like?
I mean, I think she has to be through JAG. Like, JAG is the law school of the military, and I think she has to be in that. But I think because of how quick and how fast, I mean, throughout this whole trial, she's like, I'm not wasting a lot of time. Like, I'm not telling people to get out of active duty to come testify. Like, this, we gotta go. They just have like acting judges, and the military panel, which is the jury in this case, is really the people with the power.
Yeah. All active soldiers and everything.
Yeah.
That was interesting. It was an interesting way to introduce us to this entity that we haven't been introduced to before.
Yeah, and we recognize Judge Khan, played by Linda Edmond from The Gilded Age, bringing this whole thing together. Clara Barton, which I swear was in that room that we just talked about on Elsbeth.
Now remind me who Clara Barton was.
Okay, Jason. Clara Barton founded the Red Cross. Okay, she was the lady who they were all fundraising for and doing all the stuff and trying to buddy and ended
that was
up
the season 1 plot, right?
It was a season 1. She was in season 1.
Listen, for those that don't know, The Gilded Age was one of me and Marissa's shows we did over on the good old dearly departed post show recaps long ago. So yeah, I don't know if you're ever curious about what we thought about The Gilded Age, dig up Resurrect the Old Post Show Recaps podcast feed. It's still out there somewhere, and listen to our takes on the Gilded Age. It was, and spoiler, maybe down the line when Gilded Age season 3 comes out, you'll get some coverage from us there. So we're gonna look out for that possibly. But yeah, so yeah, now that you said that, I was like, okay, the name rung a bell. I was like, I don't remember who Clara Barton was, but yeah, when I was looking up the guest stars, like, oh, she was in Gilded Age, and I had like no recollection of her at all. And I was like, and then when you said that, I was like, okay, I can literally put the TV screen in my mind. Like, okay, I get it. Yeah.
And same kind of demeanor a little bit with this judge
Mm-hmm.
and Clara Barton in this situation. We're also introduced to Lieutenant Hicks. Lieutenant Hicks is the court appointed lawyer to Randall Simmons in military court. I love this dude. He was
Yeah.
like, he's just like, I'm here. He can be represented by whoever, but I'm going to basically like watch your back, make sure that everything goes well. And also, it's quite a badass in Fallujah. Like, he's
Yeah.
very quiet. He's very, not demure. I was like, he's very mindful. He's very
Very
cutesy.
mindful, very
He's very,
demure, very cutesy. But yeah, he seems like a very bookish, very like nerdy type of guy. And then yeah, we hear later on that he apparently can kick some ass when he needs to.
yeah, yeah. So he is in the mix. And then there are some rules in military court that are pertinent to the story moving forward. In the state of Illinois at this time, and also still now, there is a moratorium on the death penalty. This, as say what you want about our governors and how they go to jail, but one of the governors that went to jail instituted the death penalty moratorium. So, good and bad can happen. And so basically, this meant that anyone tried for a case could not be sentenced to the death penalty at this point. That's great for the people of the state of Illinois. However, if you're in the military, it does not apply to you if you're being charged for military crime, which in this case was happening with Randall Simmons. And Lieutenant Gossett is ready to tell, like, straight off the bat, this does not apply here. We are willing and able to use the death penalty against this man. So this is high stakes
Yeah.
in the situation.
Yeah, it's a very like when we walk into the courtroom, it's just like, wow, this is very official. Like, Will and Alicia are not used to this. They don't know where to sit. They don't know when to stand. They don't know the processes of JAG court. And we saw this when Will and Alicia went to federal
The
court
Supreme
last
Court.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Supreme
Yeah.
Court
Federal court. No,
last
you were
season.
right. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, in my opinion, that was that whole thing where Will bristled against this judge and that was challenging his way of doing things because basically this ain't the way we do things in my court, buddy. And Will had a problem with that. We'll get very much the same thing from Will Gardner here in this setup.
Yeah, because in that case, like Will did bristle up, but he could lean on his Chicago defense skills to
Yeah.
get him out. And here, like it's a much narrower playing field, but he is able to do some things. But he is playing all of the Will Gardner's like greatest hits. He's like, hey, I am asking for a continuance. Like, let's delay this as much as we possibly can. And the judge is like, look, we don't have time. That's not going to happen. This is the thing. They're trying to appoint the panel, which is the jury in the situation. And one of the people on the panel is like, I have, feelings towards people in domestic abuse situations because of my life. And Bill's like, well, this person can't be on the jury. And the judge's answer is, if I order you to be unbiased, will you be unbiased? And
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, we have a panel now, and Will's just like flabbergasted. He's like, oh boy, I don't know what I'm gonna do here.
Confused face Will is the best face Will. He's just like, huh? Like, he's looking like, what? How are we doing this? Like, what are you talking about? I don't get my way.
What? I'm not the 16th bachelor of Chicago in this situation. I'm at
Oh
the
yeah.
bottom of the poll. Yeah, so it's gonna be a challenge for him. Back at the firm, we still have like this duel of investigators. So
Yeah.
this case has come in. Blake is going to take the initiative here and wants to be on the case. Brings photos of the autopsy and the crime scene, and he explains to Alicia that in these notes there is handwriting that has been copied more recently than other notes. She's like, how do you know this? He's like, I just know. She's like, well, you need to tell me so that I can act on this information. But it turns out that these notes were made by no other than Cary And 3 days ago, so we know that was 3 days ago is when the trial ended originally. So Cary, like basically his trial ended and he got to work right away, making notes and making sure that this could move forward.
Yeah, this kind of confirms that Cary is behind all this, and Cary is the one that kickstarted this JAG investigation. So because before they had no idea that Cary was involved, it's like, oh, that's Cary's handwriting. So Cary is definitely involved in some sort of way. They can surmise that from his notes here.
Yep. Back at court, there's some pretrial motions. This is where the judge decides, if new evidence can come in. And there is evidence that was not allowed in the state case that can be allowed in this case. So that's another thing that Will's going to have to deal with. The motive here is still that Simmons's wife was sleeping with someone, and this is why Randall killed his wife. That hasn't changed. But the police in the state case did not search Simmons's car based on, this was interesting because it was like based on personal property and where the car was parked. So like the car was not parked close to his house, so it wasn't on his property in the eyes of the state case. But in the military, the argument was basically like, well, do you own the car? Yeah. Do you own property?
Property.
Yeah, that's your property. So the reason why this is important is there was stuff in the car. There was stuff in the car that made Simmons look not so great. And when asked about it, he had to tell them, like, I was going to go AWOL, because this is a time where people are being called to Afghanistan. Like, we are in active wartime. So he was going to go AWOL, go to Canada, and you can't exactly use that in the military.
Yeah, I mean, if you say that in a military court, like, I don't care what else you did, we're going to find you guilty because you're going to skip out on your military service.
And you'll be charged with a court-martial for planning to go AWOL,
Yeah, so they got themselves in quite a pickle. I like how they were like, listen, we didn't ask you before because we didn't care, because it didn't matter at the time, but what was your plan there? And that's when he tells me, I was going to go AWOL. I'm like, oh, crap. Like, Hicks is like, you cannot tell a military court that was his plan, so you got to figure out something else. I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, they also talked about how Randall was questioned at the scene, but he was very drunk, so they were allowed to throw out the statement, in the original case. But again, the judge, who again, it seems to be very prejudicial about these civilian lawyers coming in and doing their thing, is like basically going against our people at every turn that she can. Like, nope, doesn't matter. That was Illinois. This is here. You and your fancy Illinois lawyers that don't mean nothing here in JAG court. So basically, she's going against every single thing they want to happen. So his statement that when he basically said to the courts, he basically said to the cops, I'm not sure if I kill my wife or not. I'm real drunk. I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
Like, that gets let in. So it's not looking good at all for Randall in this case.
No. Alicia does find out that the military did their own investigation on the scene with their own, like, police unit, crime investigation unit called Crime Investigation Command. And in the state case, there was only one. There were prints that were collected, but only one hit off of the database because of who was in the state's database. But there were other fingerprints that were found, and the Criminal Investigation Command decides which prints are important in this situation. So they only use the ones that matched Randall Hicks at this point. So Alicia's like, I gotta find these other prints, and has an interesting interaction with the military. What did you think about the scene when she tries to get the other fingerprints and the guy was like, yeah, you're going to need a court order. And then Hicks comes in and like sets the record straight.
Yeah, it just shows how the military feels about, civilians coming in and poking in their business of like, yeah, lady, I don't care about you. You're just a lowly civilian. You're not a military person. And then when Hicks comes, it's like, oh, Hicks, I know you were involved. Like, my bad. Like, let me go get your stuff for you. And this is where we find out that, Hicks is kind of seen as a hero in a lot of people's eyes because of things he did in Fallujah. We don't get a whole lot of detail about what that was, but he got a commendation for it. So obviously it's something, huge and impressive. So like, Hicks demands a certain level of respect. So there's like, oh yeah, I Hicks, I'm sorry, like Lieutenant Hicks, I didn't know that you were here a part of this. Here's everything you need. Good to go. And then, you see Alicia is like, oh, okay, Hicks, all right. Okay.
She like runs. She's like, I'll get the door for you.
Yeah. Like, I see your swag now, Hicks. I see your swag now. Okay. I see you in a different light. Okay.
Yeah. So through this investigation, they do find the other sets of fingerprints and run them against the military database. And there are some matches there that were not in the state. So this is like great information that Alicia wants to get to Will right away. So she calls him, and Will is willing. Will is being Will. Will is being the 16th most eligible bachelor in Chicago and in bed with an interviewee from the Chicago Law Review who was interviewing him earlier in the episode. And Alicia hears this woman on the phone, and it kind of sets her back a little bit. So that's still going on. That's still there.
Yeah, we'll dive a little bit more into it when we get into more of the personal side of this episode. But that was definitely some like eye raising from Alicia, like, oh, so you've moved on. Okay, cool.
Well, and throughout like this entire episode, the looks between the two of them, like basically like Alicia was like, if you could find a closet, I would do you right now. Like she was like,
oh,
she was like,
Marissa.
she was though. She was. She was like in some of the like she was like she was ready.
Well, this is the first time they've really spent one-on-one time together since the whole,
yeah,
I love you, I'll form a plan with you. If you don't like this, just
show me the
pretend
plan.
like it didn't happen. So this is the first time they really spent one-on-one time together, and you can tell there's some awkwardness. There's also some residual heat from
this is
from
what
before.
I'm saying. Like she was like leaning in real hard.
I don't know if it's I'll do you in the closet level, but there was definitely some
I just thought of like, what situation could she get herself in a courtroom? Like, what would be like the?
Don't mind us, Judge. You're just gonna go in the closet and bang one out.
Anyway,
we got some stuff we got to work out. We'll be in the closet.
So Will takes this information, goes to court the next day, and says basically like, okay, between these new fingerprints and the fact that there were repeated calls between Simmons and this Corporal Vernick's home, and the motive here is the fact that Simmons' wife was sleeping with someone else, we're proposing that it's this corporal dude and not Simmons. So we're going to ask for continuance.
Well, first of all, they're like, we want to talk to Vernick. Get Vernick out here. Yeah. We want to grill him about this, right? I'm like, see, the thing about that is Vernick is dead. Yeah. Like he got, something happened over in Afghanistan. He is deceased, so you can't talk to him. And was like, ooh,
what about these people? We'd have to video conference them in, and this is where the judge is like, I'm not taking people off of active duty for this. Like, this is not more important than what's going on over there.
Yeah. So Will's like, okay, let's see, what do I do now? Let me throw a Hail Mary, and just like basically yells at just like, I need you to recuse yourself right now. He causes a scene in the courtroom.
Yeah, it was like he turned on a pin. So his continuance gets denied again. Like he's continuously asking for these delays in the case, and the judge is like, no. And so then he turns and he tells the judge, I want you to recuse yourself right now. And it's like, well, I'll get you removed from the case. Okay, fine. He sits down. He puts his feet on the table. And you could see, like, Lieutenant Hicks is like, oh, no, this is bad. Like,
also, Alicia's like, what are you doing, bro? And it's, as he is causing a scene, he's like, he's pointing something out to Alicia in the little law books. He's like, look at this. Like, when I get out, like, look, this is what I need you to do. Like, sending her a message.
Yeah, because it turns out that if the attorney of record is removed from the case, so in this case, Will is the attorney on record, and he's being removed by being held in contempt. So if the attorney on record or the counsel of record is removed, the defense is entitled to a continuance to kind of regroup and reorganize themselves. So Alicia, again, super smart, reads the thing, calls out the rule or the law, and the judge is like super kind of impressed and is like, way to get a continuance, Mr. Gardner. Like,
yeah, okay. Like Alicia's like, I guess she just found out this information 2 seconds ago. She's like according to this here book, this, I'm pretty sure what this says is that we get a continuance when you kick off one of our lawyers.
Yeah, and so they get 24 hours. They're going to regroup. Alicia has to be put on the record, so she has to get Will to sign a piece of paper. And I thought this interaction was like pretty like nothing to write home about, except for this one line where Alicia tells Will, "I thought I was done visiting men in prison."
Wink, wink. You want a conjugal visit,
yeah,
Will?
See? Back at the office with the wars of investigators, Kalinda's like not happy that she's not in on this case with Alicia, so she's trying to find different ways. So she just like stops by and says, "Hey, remember that Corporal Vinnick guy, the guy who died, who was the prime suspect in the situation? Here's the address of his girlfriend, and he's currently receiving death benefits." So the gang's back together. They go and visit this lady who basically says she was the one making these phone calls, not not her boyfriend. And the reason she was doing so was basically, well, she's like, I'm not
So
going to give you any information. And then Clinda's like, well, the only information we have is your boyfriend's name.
so
So
yeah,
we're going
we're
to
gonna
use.
use that if we got to. So I mean, basically, this lady, I think her name was Daria. Daria was talking to Simmons's wife. Basically, they were. That's why there were so many phone
Friends.
calls. They were
They were
they were chit
friends.
chatting. They were friends. And what Daria tells us is like, well, listen, she wasn't sleeping with my guy Vernick, but she wants to sleep with somebody else. But she refuses to help out and name names because she is pretty convinced. She just like everybody else is convinced that Randall killed his wife. So
Yeah.
she's not doing a damn thing to lift a finger for Randall. And this is where he, like, Kalinda threatens to drag Vernick's name through the mud in order to compel her to help out.
And it works. Like she says, well,
Kinda.
it wasn't my boyfriend, but the CEO of their unit said, like, I could keep Simmons off the deployment list, but there's a price to pay for it. So that gives them some information that they want to use. Like they want to put this woman on stand. We know it's not going to go well. And she has
Yeah.
learned, like Alicia has learned how to use witnesses in not so much in telling the facts, but maybe omitting the facts. So this was a very interesting play by Alicia. Again, Will is not in the picture at this point. This is 100%
Right.
an Alicia play. One of the things before she gets back to the courtroom, she notices that Cary's handwriting was on the witness list, and Cary had said, no, do not call this woman to the stand when talking to Lieutenant Gossett, like telling
Yeah.
her, like,
So
yeah,
Carrie,
like, don't do it, which means he knows. Cary
yeah, he knows
knows.
something's up. Something's up. Carrie knows where the bodies are buried here, and he is, as much as his little guilt trip to Alicia, like, he killed her, Alicia. Like, maybe now he just is like, he didn't kill her, but I still want to be right. So, F
Yeah.
Alicia. Don't put
So
Daria on the stand because she'll blow this whole thing wide open.
And this is like brilliant by Alicia. She does put Daria on the stand. Daria says exactly what we were expecting her to say. Like, no, Judith Simmons' wife was not sleeping with anyone. But then Alicia calls Cary, and Alicia calls Cary to the stand as an impeachment witness to basically refute what Daria had just said. And the way that Cary Agos, first of all, says hello. Second of all, sits on the stand. This is like, there were definite conversations about how to play this. Like,
Oh
this is
yeah.
like, he has turned to the dark side so hard.
Oh yes, he is a Sith Lord all the way. And as Alicia is starting to question Carrie, she's like, "So you prosecuted Mr. Simmons in the original court case?" And he's like, "Yeah, like what I did, like I tried him because he's guilty. Like what are you talking about?"
Well,
And
and like,
he has to give the details that Alicia wants because obviously Carrie, as evil as he is,
he respects the law.
he still has taken an oath to tell the truth when he's up on the stand. So he's so begrudgingly tells the truth of like, yeah, Daria did tell me that she believed that Judith was sleeping with Gautier to stop the deployment. But it's like pulling teeth to get it out of him. He's like, he doesn't want to say it. He's like, oh, I don't want to admit that Alicia's right here, but he has to tell the truth on the stand.
Well, and that hello at the beginning, he was just like, hello. Like, I can't even do it. It was like really deep and sinister and dark. It was bad. Yeah. Yeah, he tells the truth, but gives the court enough information to basically like get the CEO on video conference. We have to question him, and you can tell right off the bat this dude is bad news. He's
He's
like,
shady. He's very shady.
he's winking off to the side. He's not making eye contact. He's asked like straight out, like, did you sleep with this woman? And then they do like the sinister, evil smile, creepy look face that comes in. And at a point, like he is basically walking up to the point where he could say that he did this, and the judge comes in as like, yo, do you need counsel? Like, is this something that you need a lawyer for?
This
And
ain't looking good for you, my guy.
yeah, the connection is lost. So lost in quotation marks. Like I have a feeling that was planned from the beginning.
Yeah. Hey, but listen, I was like, so like, are they going to come back and tell us that the place he was at got bombed? Like, I thought that was a possibility in that moment.
Yeah.
But it turns out that was not the case at
Well,
all.
there was like all this like looking on the side. So like this was planned. This was
Mhm.
a way he knew he was gonna run at this point. And what like where is he? Nobody, he could. He had the privilege to be able to do that. So the verdict comes in. It's not guilty again. There is a nod from the judge, not like good job, good job. Lieutenant Gossett is super pissed at Cary because
Yes.
basically this was like,
Bro, you
hey, this is
embarrassed
a
me.
home run for you. Like, go do this.
Yeah, you got me to take this. You got me embarrassed. Like you made me take this lame duck case that already was found not guilty, and now I am just like I look like an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end though, like Alicia's like walking out. She's like super like, oh, I did something cool. And Cary again, man, just goes right behind her and says, congratulations. Now that he's not guilty, he can serve out his commitment. And she's like, commitment to what? Afghanistan? He can go to. This man was like gonna go AWOL. His wife was sleeping with someone else to keep him out of going to Afghanistan. And now basically Cary cannot live with himself. He has to put the fact that this man is being deployed on Alicia's shoulders.
Gotta rain on the parade. Listen, Alicia, you tell Randall, come with me, man. Come on. We're gonna drive up to the Canada border. I'm gonna get you over there myself. All good. But yeah, Cary of course has to just find any way to crap in Alicia's cereal.
I mean, okay. I know we said this at the beginning of our podcast. Cary is one of my favorite characters on the show, but you really do have to walk with him. Like you really
Yeah,
have to like hang in there. He
he'll
has his
get
moments.
there. He'll get there. He's in his villain era right now. But that's what makes the comeback all that
Yeah.
much lovely. Yeah, so that was a full case. That was a very compelling, interesting case. A lot of twists and turns. It wasn't one that just like felt like it abruptly ended, like we get sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
this really
It was
felt like a
complete.
full story. Yeah, 100%.
Well, and it was complete in the way that it started with an ending and then like
Yeah,
it
a
was
new
it was
beginning,
good.
new journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that wasn't the only thing that was happening in this episode, though. Of course, we have some campaign and family updates. I thought this was an interesting storyline, and also this is like Eli is becoming more Eli in this
Mhm.
storyline. So at the beginning, Peter is on an interview in like 1997 internet. Like it
An
is,
interview on a blog, like
yeah,
just like in the little window on the blog. Like it's not something that would be a YouTube video and then added and embedded into something. This is like live streamed on a blog.
yeah, and like Eli's like, I'm gonna stay here with Peter for a while, see if he can handle his own. Okay, he can be okay. And one of the things though that was interesting is they were questioning Peter about the case, the Simmons case, the state case, and was like, well, what do you think about the case? What do you think about like how this should have been handled, or that like the sentence that this man should have got? And basically got Peter to say the words, "The stiffer, the better."
And Eli clocks this. He's like, that's a
Huh.
weird thing to make him to
Yeah.
have him say. Interesting.
Weird.
But then it kind of goes on normally, and Eli's like, probably just me being paranoid. Probably
Yeah.
not anything really I need to worry about.
He's a pro. I can go. So he goes and he goes into the office and he hears a familiar voice. None other than Becca. Becca's just volunteering, Jason. She just wants to do good. She wants to give back.
Becca's back, baby. Becca's back. I was like, yes, finally we get Becca back doing her damn thing. Yeah, she is, of course, playing the good girl, volunteering for her local governor's race. And the
Local state's
contempt.
attorney. State's attorney. Okay, we're not
Sorry,
even
jumping into the future. Sorry, but the contempt on Eli's face, just like, oh, this little demon child.
well, and he has a staffer like in his ear saying, yo, boss, there's this thing happening on College Humor. You should really go look at it. And he is laser focused on just
Mhm.
like getting Becca out of there. And it turns out that College Humor has released a video all about Peter. And it's a music video with, I
Amber
forgot her
Madison.
name. Amber
Yeah, Amber.
Madison. Yeah.
Yep.
With Amber Madison basically singing about Peter and their relations and all of that. And there's just happens to be a point in the video where she says the stiffer the better.
Well, and it's his audio right from that interview. Like,
Well, it gets cut in later.
yeah, yes,
It was
yeah.
pre-planned. Like it gets cut. And this is like Eli is like alarm bells. are off. We gotta go. Hustle, like knocking on the doors, trying to get it cut off. He does not make it in time. So this is out there. This is something that will be used.
It was just such a fun sequence of like Eli scrambling to get into the room. He has to go into the other building to get in through the back way to get into the interview. He's like tripping over stuff. He's running around. It's just like a great physical comedy moment for
And it
Eli
was
here.
like so surprising because when he left Peter, we didn't see any of that. Like we didn't. I just literally thought he closed the door and walked into the office, but there was a lot. So it was a great reveal. Yeah. So Eli gets back fired. There's a College Humor video out. Eli's got to, try to get things back under control. So he's talking to Peter about wanting to push the button on releasing information about child's divorce. Peter is still like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to give any reason to come after my family. But speaking of my family, Grace and Zach are like eating snacks on the side.
Oh,
like
we're back.
This and like
we're back to this Grace and Zach stuff. The less they're involved, the better. Every time they get themselves involved, I can't stand it. It's so annoying, but yeah, here we are.
It's so bad. Well, and Grace is like, Zach is like, "What's up? What's wrong? What'd you do? What's going?
Something's going on. I know something's up." This little whiny voice,
up. So Grace tells him about what happened at the event last episode where she ran into a tracker and they have this tape. And Zach's like, or they're holding it so they can use it. Like he's like a political mastermind at this point. He's learned all of the things.
Yeah, he's like Cary. In between seasons, he has his brain's grown 3 times the size. But when we saw that episode, we were like, oh, Grace has really clocked this. Like she's not going to say anything stupid. But is this trying to tell us that she did say something stupid? Because from what we saw, she didn't say really anything at all.
Well, I think she's just worried about the fact that there is a tape with her talking on it. Yeah. And it can be misconstrued because she's looking at this like College Humor thing and she knows that her dad was not talking about what the video is insinuating he's talking about. So there is tape of her saying something about her parents that can be used in some way. And that's like never good, for the teenagers that they are that know about all of this stuff. I mean, I would say that teenagers today are very aware of media literacy and how things work. But back in these days, when we had to have someone explain what Twitter was on the show, like we're not there yet. But this puts Zach into like, I'm going to save the day, mode. So he like runs after Eli in the elevator. And he's like, I want to help. I know things. And Eli, I thought of you immediately when I heard this line because Eli says, I don't need Encyclopedia Brown on my staff.
I guffawed at it. I was like, yes, that's what I call them. Yes, Encyclopedia Brown. Love that.
And it's Eli that has to tell Zach because Becca had said, oh, Zach told me that you needed volunteers. And Eli said, you told Becca that we need volunteers? Zach's like, no, I didn't talk to her. And Eli's, oh crap, this is what I fell into her trap. I fell into the trap of Becca.
I like it's like, man, I am really off my game today. It's really a bad day for Eli.
So Zach goes and confronts Becca. And Becca, I don't know, like, this is so messy. Because the last time we saw Becca and Zach was sneaking out of the house after trying to look for condoms because they were going to go have sex. And then we heard that they broke up because Becca said mean things about his parents. And now Becca's standing in front of Zach saying, why won't you let me say I'm sorry? And so, like, I don't really know. What do you think happened here?
I wouldn't be surprised because when we left that moment with Zach wanting to find the condoms and not find them, there was this like real pause where we were like, uh-oh, this is going to go bad.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they changed course on that. I wouldn't be surprised if we were ever find out that, we had a whole storyline planned where Becca was going to be pregnant and then we just kind of dropped it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. And then we're just like, no, we're just not going to deal with that.
Yeah, I could totally see like some CBS executive going, we are not touching abortion. We are not touching teenage pregnancy. We are not getting in there. So the audience can think whatever happened here, but we're not going to touch that.
Could definitely see that happening. Like, that would be the difference between where we meet Becca now and where we meet her with like a a belly. She's like,
Yeah.
guess what, Zach? I'm pregnant with your child. So I think there was some kind of course correction at some point that were like, I know we thought about this, but we're not going to do that now. We're gonna change course on that. Just keep Becca as the evil villain that she is, and let her do villainous things with our
Man,
people.
but she would also like she is using to relate to another show we're covering with the Elsbeth. Like she is using Elsbeth tactics in a way
Mhm.
to kind of keep connected with Zach because she's saying, my parents are divorced. He's like, yeah, okay, I don't care. But then the next thing out of her mouth is, I know Glenn Childs Jr.
It's like,
And
ooh.
like, oh, well, okay. And she goes, I just have to wonder, does she have any friends other than kids of state's attorneys? Like, why are she what crew is she hanging with? What are her circles?
She's like
I
the Mean Girls
don't know this world.
she's like the Mean Girls from that movie, right? She has other Mean Girls as friends probably that do the same type of.
Probably. Probably. But they go back over to the apartment and they set up a profile for Glenn Childs Jr. on facebranch.com.
Oh my lord! This was before they found the ingenious name of Grubhub. Not
Yes.
Grubhub. What was it? Chumhum.
Chubhub.
Why did I say Grubhub? Chumhum. This was before Chumhum.
And you can see Zach's like a little worried, but he's also like super excited about this at the same time. So this is gonna
Yeah,
go somewhere bad.
they're making a fake profile for Glenn Child Jr. I guess to embarrass him or use this as some sort of like, I don't know, way to spread information about his father, like basically doing what Peter doesn't want Eli to do. So it's like, and Zach's like, but this isn't real, right? Like this, we're just having fun here. And Becca's like, no, child, I'm pulling you to the dark side. We're about to do some crazy ish right now. Buckle up, little buddy. Like it's like she's ready to just pull him into the evilness of that side.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This stuff was okay. It's basically setting up stuff for later on in the season, I think. It's just like
Yeah,
showing how fast the campaign is going to move. But we have not seen Alicia and Peter together again. So I'm happy with that.
that's true.
Back at the firm, Will was being interviewed by the Chicago Law Review. And this was, I don't know. I think this is here to kind of test Will in a way of like, are you going to play back into this world? What are you
The answer is yes.
doing?
The answer is yes. He is. Listen, he's like, I don't know why they send these. And this is the second. And I don't know what happened to the other woman that he met last season. She
The
was
law
20.
lady, the richest woman in the
Giada.
world.
Yeah, Giada, I think her name was. We just totally dropped into
Yeah.
that. So we now have another probably 25 to 27-year-old that's going to be tempted in front of Will to be like, hey,
Will,
gonna
you
fall
are
for this one.
better than Leonardo DiCaprio.
Listen, he tried to better himself with getting with
He
Alicia. That
did.
didn't work. So he's backsliding back into his old ways, I guess.
He just wants to be loved, okay? Like that's all he wants. Just wants to be loved.
He wants something. I
So
don't know if it's I don't know if to be loved is on the top of priority right now for Will.
that's my hopeless romantic. Also, probably what leads me into bad relationships heart.
No.
Like ignoring the red flags. Could you imagine Will on like Love is Blind?
I'm thinking
He
about
would be
you on Love Is
popular.
Blind. I'm thinking about you on Love Is Blind. That's what I'm thinking about now. I mean, talk about people going into ignoring red flags. You'd be perfect for Love Is Blind. Perfect.
Bad. Will never happen. Anywho, okay, so
I don't
back
know if
at
I could.
the
I wouldn't be able to watch that season. I'd be like, I'm gonna have to pass. Marissa's on it. I gotta pass.
you couldn't. There was
I could not
hey,
watch the show. Eat her and spit her out. I couldn't do it. Could not
I
do it.
got as close as I am with a Marissa spelled the same way as I
Yeah.
am on
True.
this season. So that was my Love is Blind experience. The only other thing happening at the firm is they're still trying to like shuffle through what's going to happen with this merger. There are big clients, that we have to figure out. And one of them is surprisingly who I forgot about this man like existed until he showed back up. Lou Dobbs. Okay. Lou Dobbs. Lou
Good job,
Dobbs.
Marissa. You didn't throw up at the
Thank
name
you.
at the
Like it
saying
was
his
like
name.
I
I'm proud of
really
you.
was trying to delay saying his name.
You guys should have seen the seething that Marissa was doing pre-pod at the fact that we had to talk about Lou Dobbs.
Oh, Lou Dobbs. Okay. Lou Dobbs, not a big fan of immigrants, not a big fan of Hispanic people. Was on CNN for some time, disgraced in the end, but did not like this man. I grew up in a house where my dad watched a lot of cable news, so I have
Mhm.
strong feelings about CNN anchors and MSNBC anchors and stuff like that. He was not one of my favorites. And it was also surprising to me that he was being represented by Derek Bond, like a black
Yeah.
man. Like, so this I feel was like a redemption tour for Lou Bonds in like the eye of the public because of conversations that he has. Like, oh, I'll play myself being represented by a black man on a TV show. That will help me.
Image improvement.
This, yeah.
Listen,
Anywho,
I did not know who Lou Dobbs. I'd heard the name Lou Dobbs, but I'm not a person that's very much into the political scene or the CNN scene, so I didn't know who Lou Dobbs was. But Diane hates Lou Dobbs and Marissa hates Lou Dobbs. So I know I should hate Lou Dobbs. Like those are the people that I mostly align with is Diane Diane Lockhart and Marissa Garza. So I know that I should hate Lou Dobbs as well.
yeah, get on. Thanks for that, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, Diane like does not like seeing Lou Dobbs in her office, let alone the fact that he's one of the clients. And so she goes over to Will and is like, "Hey, we gotta like vote to get Lou Dobbs like out of this firm." Will's like, "Yeah. That's why we did this, right? 2-1. Like it'll be great.
Mm.
It'll be
Well,
fine."
because
And
they have two clients that are kind of, what do you call it? They can't be impartial because they have two clients
right,
that are
like
a
conflict of
different conflict of
interest.
interest. There you go. So they have to drop one of them. So the vote is about which client should be dropped because they have to figure that because they can't be a conflict of interest. So they got to drop one. So they're going to vote on who to drop. And of course, Diane's like, "Well, you and me, right? You got me, buddy. You got me, my man. Like we're
Well,
good. This is
and this is
it's us against him. That's what we're here for."
right after a conversation where Will is like, "Yeah, I'm still defending Simmons because he got dragged into military court." And Diana's like, "Yo, we're not taking cases like this anymore, right? Like, we're supposed to be strategic about what we're taking." And he's like,
Diane's like,
"Yeah, passion."
Diane said, "We don't want no broke boys. Like, get that case out of my face. They don't make us no money." And so basically, just like, listen, if you support me on my thing, I'll support you on your thing. So
We
you
got
keep
this.
taking the Simmons case, and you help me out with the Lou Dobbs thing. He's like, "No problem. I got you. Like, it's me and you against Derek. That's why he brought him on because we could double team him. So we're good. Don't worry about that. I got you, Diane. I got you." Spoiler alert:
So
he don't got her.
the meeting happens between Derek and Diane and Will. They're in a conference room. And basically, Derek's like, "Yo, I hear you. Like, we have to make this discussion, right? Or like decision. We have to do this. Here's the billable hours for your client, Diane, and here's the billable hours for mine. I trust you to make the right decision." Like, and at the same time, I thought this was interesting. At the same time, a group of black lawyers comes in and like
Yeah.
tries to take over the conference room. And Will's like, "We're busy here," in a very like privileged position. Like this is my
Yeah.
room. I own this room. You are
He's
not
like,
allowed in this room.
we need the room, guys. You come back later.
Yeah. Well, and they don't leave until Derek
Well,
says
yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
We got 5 minutes and we'll be done.
Very interesting. They look like the look on the black guy's face, and they're like, they look at Will like, you think you're the issue out here? And they look at Derek, and Derek's like, yeah, go ahead. And they're like, all right, now we'll leave because Derek has
Well,
to.
yeah. And Derek apologizes to Will. So like there's a power struggle thing brewing here as well. But Will sides with Derek on this one and keeps Lou Dobbs because of the amount of money that it's bringing in. And he also like throws this comment of like, my dad threw away money and helped all his friends, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I did it. And Diane is like super pissed. Like,
yes, this might be the most mad we've seen Diane thus far.
Yeah, she's super pissed. So then she's like, "Okay, hey, Kalinda, can you find out if there's anything between Will and Derek? Because this does not make sense to me. I don't know why he would do this to me. I need to see if there's anything here." Okay, fine. So Derek comes back to Diane and says, "Hey, guess what? Lou Dobbs dropped us because he doesn't think that the partners have his best interest at heart." Diane's like, "Great. I love this. This is fantastic." But she also knows that because of the money situation, we kind of have to like get Lou Dobbs back in.
Well, yeah, because Derek is like, listen, like Dobbs is willing to listen to us, like pitch him again. Will you will you talk to him? Or will you like try and ease his mind? Because I think what Derek says is like, well, he doesn't think that all the partners would work for him because he knows your stance on him.
Right.
So just talk to him and ensure him that you will work in his best interest should the time come. And she does that. I think Marissa
A
Garza would
little
have been
too
like,
well.
hell no,
Nope.
I don't want to talk to him ever again. I'm glad he
I will
gone.
take
Bye.
on
Boy, bye.
I will take on the 80 clients it takes to replace him, put them all on my list. I don't care. Like, we are not letting this man back in the building.
Yeah.
Diane is almost like to that point. She's like, yeah, as long as you work with Derek, like it'll be fine. If I can, the way that this line lands in 2024 is if I can represent murderers, I can represent Republicans. I was like, oh my God. And Lou Dobbs is like, ha ha ha, very funny. I'm like, dude, just wait. Just wait. But Dobbs is so taken like by this display of integrity and it's like, cool, yeah, I'll come back, but you have to be my lawyer, Diane. And that's gonna be rough for Diane very much.
Yeah, I don't remember if we ever see Lou Dobbs again or if this is gonna come back around. But that would be a very interesting thing for Diane to have to do if she was ever forced into working for him. But
There's
I think this probably be a background thing we don't really hear much about.
There's only room for one Republican in Diane's life, and that
right.
is Kurt. Like,
Kurt probably heard all this. He's like, "Oh, Lou Dobbs! Oh my gosh,
I know him."
He gets me hot. You want to go out to the barn?
The episode ends with Clinda coming back and telling Diane she did find something between Will and Derek. So again, we are mixing with the trust between Will and Diane and the power dynamics at play in the firm, which is one of the things that, even though it's like not a big focus of these shows, I love that it's part of the conversation in the series because it does impact, like you can kind of see how it will impact the courtroom, which then impacts people's lives. Like it all goes into one big circle. So that was season 2, episode 2 of The Good Wife, Jason.
Fun times, great episode. Really, really kind of, did a lot of stuff. We didn't touch much on it, but like when Alicia calls Will, and Will's like in bed with the interviewer. Will's staring across his apartment to another apartment. He looks at a loving couple. He's like, oh, wish I could have.
I'm telling you, see, he just wants to be loved.
And then he turns to this interviewer lady who we didn't mention her, but Christine Evangelista, who is, from I know her, she's a big part of the Walking Dead universe. She's Sherry on The Walking Dead. But when I saw her, I was like, she looks familiar. Then I looked her up. I was like, oh, okay, gotcha. Not so much you're automatically like, oh, I know that person. Like, oh yeah, it's Sherry. But so I mean, that was just an interesting thing. Like, I wish Alicia was here with me, but I got this hot young thing in bed. Like in the meantime.
Well, and she's like, no work.
Yeah, don't pick it up. And Alicia's like, oh, you moved on rather quickly, haven't you, Mr. Gardner? So yeah, just more of the rift between Alicia and Will that we know probably more than likely is going to come back around, and we'll see what happens with that. But that was our episode. Marissa, where can the people find you, what you're up to, what you're doing?
You can find me on Instagram and Threads at It's Me Marissa G. And there I'm telling you what I'm up to, what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'm here with you. It's a big season for us on the Good Pod, covering, we're straddling the Kingverse with its origins and its current.
There's a better way you could have said that. Than straddling the kings. Like, we're not doing that. We're not straddling the Kingverse. I heard what I heard.
Well, your mind's where your mind is. And then, like, okay, we are bookending. We are bookending.
That's better.
The Kingverse with its origins and where it currently is in the present. So it's kind of a fun space to be in. Hope you'll join us. What else? Yeah. What do you got going on, Jason?
Listen, I always got something going on. Right now, you can also find me over on the Rob Has a Podcast Network, over on the Love at First Sight feed, on the podcast A Perfect Match, where we are talking Married at First Sight. Me and Asia Welch will break down every episode every week of season 18. We're probably about a quarter of the way through because there's like 27 episodes per season. So if you want to catch up, if you want to find out what we're doing over there, we're having a great time over there. Anything else I got cooking, you'll find on my Twitter at JAYR1085. I always got something down the pipe. All these weird one-off podcasts I do talking about random stuff. I'll probably be on some 90 Day Fiance podcast coming up. Again, this is like weeks in the future, so I don't know what I'm up to at
We
this
don't
point.
know. We don't know what the
Yeah, we
future
don't know.
holds for us.
No idea. So check me out there. I'll be posting about anything I do. So yeah, until next week, stay good.